StrayAllDay.com.
Now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unified philosophy that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, we are going into part 2 of a series. I don't even think I mentioned in yesterday's episode that this is going to be a series. Maybe I wasn't even considering that it was a series, but this is part 2 of a series where I'm talking about how to sell more books or anything else independently. When you are selling independently, meaning all the sales processes are pretty much handled by you, and anything that gets sold doesn't mean you necessarily have to do the selling directly yourself, but you might. It means you are in control of the whole process, meaning you're not handing this off to anybody else, not expecting anybody else to get it done for you. You are running it. How do you sell more of your things independently? And the good news about selling independently is you don't have to split the money with a whole bunch of other entities, or even a single other entity if you choose not to. That is the topic here today. Again, yesterday we did part 1 of this series. Today we're going to go into part 2 of this series. So before we get into that, let me remind you all of 2 things. Number 1, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text messages. These messages are guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day or your week, respectively. All you got to do to get them is join my text community. It is free to join. My number is 305-384-6894. And once we start sending those messages again, because as of this recording, they're not sending, but once we start sending them again, you'll get a message from our bot. My bot will let you know it's coming. I'll let you know it's coming. And then they're going to start on a consistent basis again from there. And that number is down below in the description. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all my coaching. If you would like to work with me directly, part of my coaching programs, get access to our training materials, get our physical mailings that we send out every month, be on our live group calls, and be part of our ongoing community group chat. There's like 150 messages that I have not addressed in the group chat right now. I don't need to address them all because I have other people who help me in the coaching program, especially in the communications outside of the coaching calls. That conversation is happening right now. So if you are an entrepreneur, there's many different types of entrepreneurs that we can help. But if you're an entrepreneur who feels like you're doing everything on your own right now, that you have questions every now and then, it might not be super big questions where you need a whole event to get your question answered, but it would be great if you could talk to some other entrepreneurs who may be on your current path, or maybe a few steps ahead of you, or doing something tangential to you, or someone who has some experience that you don't have. You would like to just be able to drop a question on them every now and then and get an answer to where you can get yourself some direction so you can stop doing everything just by guessing and hoping. Then this community is a great place for you to do that. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can join immediately. You can join right there on the page. You see all the information. It's a pretty long page. I want to make sure we're giving you all the info about what we're doing and how we're doing it. You don't have to read it all if you don't want to, but it's all there. Workonyourgameuniversity.com. Everything you need to know to get started in our university is right there on that page. With all of that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which again, as I already told you, is part 2 of a 2-part series, which is how to sell more books or anything else you want to sell independently on your own. And we'll just pick up where we left off. So I don't have to give you too much more of a background. I already gave you enough at the beginning of this episode and also on yesterday. So let's get to it. Point number 4, write more books. Number 4 thing you can do, and these are in no particular order, write more books. If you want to sell more of the books that you have, then you should write more books so that you have more books to sell. Or if you want to sell more courses, make more courses. If you want to sell more, whatever it is, more widgets, make more widgets. Why is this? Because book number 2 or thing number 2 helps you sell thing number 1. The way that happens is, if let's say thing number 1 comes out and certain people know about it and certain people ignore it, they never even knew that it existed. Maybe you'll catch their attention with thing number 2 in a way that you didn't catch their attention with thing number 1. So now thing number 2 will help inform them that this is thing number 2. Oh, so what's thing number 1? Now they can go look at thing number 1, and now you can sell them both. So they support each other. This is why you go create another one. This works also with other things you can sell, such as an online course. This works with if you do some type of retreat, you do some type of conference. Often if you go to someone's conferences, they will offer, not everybody does this, but I see many people do it. They'll offer you the recordings or the material from the last 3 conferences when you buy your ticket to this year's conference. So they're leveraging the material from past releases to help sell current releases because they'll offer it as a bonus. Okay, so if you get your ticket before midnight on Friday, then I'll give you the recordings from the last 10 times I've done an event like this, or I'll give you a free PDF of some program that I put out 15 years ago that is still relevant today, but a lot of people don't know about it because you weren't around 15 years ago. So you use your past stuff to help sell the current stuff, and you use your current stuff to help bring value to the past stuff. Because again, many people don't even pay attention to things that are older than a week because we're all in this immediacy and we're all chasing the carrot of whatever is bright, shiny, and new, which is, it's human nature for us to do this. I would suggest that many of you fight against this unconscious habit because there's a lot of value in the stuff that is quote unquote old. But you, as a salesperson, on the other hand, take your consumer hat off, put your salesperson hat on. You can leverage the stuff that people are not paying attention to, your quote unquote old stuff that is still 100% valuable, but people aren't paying attention just because it's not new. You can leverage it in other ways. But the only way you can leverage stuff that is quote unquote old, folks, is if you have stuff that is old. So if you don't have anything that you created 2 years ago, then you can't leverage something from 2 years ago. So the more stuff you create now, making sure that it is actually valuable and useful, especially if it's evergreen, and most of the material I create is evergreen, then you can leverage this. And the longer you're in the game, the more of a vault, so to speak, of material you have to work with. So I have a deep vault of material to work with in my business because I've been creating material for so long. And as long as you keep it organized and keep track of it and you have access to it, you can leverage stuff that many people might have forgotten about or don't even know exist. You can still leverage it to get things done today. But the whole point is you got to actually have it. So when it comes to books, for example, most people who read books, they read books. Right? They don't read a book, they read books, plural. So if someone will read one of your books and they like it, they'll probably read 2 or 5 or 10 of your books. But if you only have one book to sell them, then they can't read the second book because there is no second book. And also understand that you don't necessarily have to make another book. You can write a book and that book can lead someone to signing up for your courses. And a course usually costs more money than a book. Or that course could lead to someone signing up for your coaching program or your retreat or your whatever it is that you have, your consultation program or your done for you service or whatever it is that you want to do, your year-long mastermind, your lifetime membership, whatever it is that you want people to sign up for and get involved in, you can leverage the book as the stepping stone to get to the next thing and next thing. So you don't have to write a whole bunch of books like I have. You can write one book and leverage them to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. As a matter of fact, you don't have to write any books if you don't want to. You can start out selling something different and just stair step people up to the next thing and the next thing. And sometimes, and there are business people I know who do this, you can just go straight to the whatever the highest level thing is and don't do all those stair steps. You don't have to necessarily do the what we call the value ladder, taking people from a low ticket offering, let's say something costs $10 or something free, then up to $100 offer, then a $500, then $1,000, then $10,000. You could just go straight to the 10,000 if you want to. There is a business model for doing that. I talked about this in the episode where I told you why you need to go high ticket in your business. That was episode number 2869. So there are ways to do this. You just have to decide what business model you want to work with. And you could try more than one at the same time and just find what works for you. And it's really depending on who you're talking to and what you're offering. It's more than just what works for you because all of them work and all of them can work for you depending on what you're offering, who you're talking to, and how you present it. And this goes back to the positioning topic that we also talked about in, that was positioning, that was episode number 2886, how to position yourself in business. So as I already said, if your first offering out there doesn't reach the audience, the intended audience, your second offering might reach the intended audience, and then they'll go back and get the other one. So it's like you might hear of a musical artist today who you never heard of before. You had never listened to this artist, but then you hear a couple of their songs. You're like, oh, I like this person. And then you find out that this is their 4th album that these songs are on. Well, you go back and get album number 1, number 2, and number 3. So album number 4 helped sell albums 1, 2, and 3. You understand? So this thing can work the same way with your stuff and the things that you're selling. So you can apply this concept to, as I said, courses, speeches, anything else that you sell. People tend to do things in patterns. I'm talking to consumers. We tend to behave habitually. So if someone will do something one time, there's a good chance they'll do it 3 times or 2 times or 5 times. But you must present them the opportunities to do the thing. And also, if you're going to be an author, for example, then you need to be consistently writing, which means more books will naturally come out of you once you are in the consistent habit. So whatever space you're going to get in, be thorough in what you're doing, thorough in your work, and consistent in doing it, so that you are consistently producing material that will help sustain the business, or at least sustain your opportunity to do business. Let's say that. Just because you create it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to make you business, but you can keep positioning and working with it and trying different things and trying different audiences and different approaches and different marketing. And then you can find what works. And if your material is good, once people find out about you, they'll want to dive into everything that you have. And all you have to do is present it to them and they'll get into it. So it's not like you are going to have to reinvent the wheel all over again. Just make sure whatever you're creating is of quality. Even if it's not working right now, once you get it working, then all the stuff that wasn't working in the past, you can get it to work for you in the future. Point number 5. Today's topic, once again, is how to sell books or anything else independently. Number 5, expand your offerings. We talked about this a little bit in a couple of these points already. When I mentioned a point in yesterday's episode about building a business and thinking like an entrepreneur rather than just an author, I want you to consider what else you can offer in addition to your books. What else can you offer the world in addition to the first thing that you're selling? Again, I'm using books here as a placeholder, but we don't have to be talking about books. So we've discussed, mentioned courses, webinars, coachings, live events, masterminds, anything like that. Your book could become a TV show. There are people who have TV shows that started with just writing a book. And some people have they started with a TV show, then they wrote a book. You could do it in either direction. It depends on your situation. Documentaries are based on books. There are movies that are based on books. Maybe your writing can lead to other opportunities to take you outside of this complete vertical. There are many authors out there who have become things such as college professors. They've become full-time consultants who work with Fortune 500 companies. Some of them have become TV hosts, amongst other things. So don't limit yourself and your possibilities to just the things that I'm throwing out here. I'm throwing things out here because these are the things that I am thinking about when I'm talking about it. But you are not limited to the things that I'm saying. All right, you can go from having a course to being, again, the most in-demand consultant in the world, and you're not making courses anymore because you're spending all your time and making the bulk of your money doing consulting gigs. Maybe that's what works for you. Maybe you end up starting a business based on the thing that you're doing, and you don't even have time to go and write a book. I was talking to a woman yesterday. I'm going to be on her podcast, and she has I believe it's a construction company. I can't remember the company. I'm not going to look it up. Let me see if I can look it up. I'll look it up right now. And she has a construction company. I got to find my calendar. I'm not even remembering names. I talk to so many different people every day. Her name is, I just found her name, so let me search it up. But we were just having a brief conversation on Zoom, and she could see the books behind me. If you're watching on video, you see all these books behind me. So she was just asking me a little bit about my books, and I was telling her, yeah, I write books and whatever. And she was like, well, I just finished my first book, and she had her book on her bookshelf behind her. So I was talking to Carrie, and she wrote this book called The Ownership Mindset, and she has a company that she runs that is like $100 million company, and she told me about it briefly, so I can't tell you a whole lot about it. The point being, she built that $100 million company before she wrote a book. So it's not like you got to start with the book, and you don't build a $100 million company just so you can write a book about it. I don't think she wrote the book to make money. I don't think she needs the money from the book. The whole point is, folks, that you don't need to limit yourself to a specific vertical or a specific process of getting from where you are to where you want to go. There are a lot of different ways to get there. You just got to decide on a way and then actually do the things, actually do the work, whatever that work is going to be. So let's move on to point number 6. Today's topic, once again, is how to sell more books independently or anything else. Doesn't have to be books. Number 6, commit to a lifetime/career of marketing and selling. That is the game that you're in. You're in the marketing and selling game. These are lifetime jobs when you are in business. Any kind of business, there's a lifetime job of marketing and selling. Even if you work at someone else's company as a full-time employee, you still are selling because you have to continually sell the business that you work at on why you should keep your job, because they might be thinking about replacing you. You don't even know. They might not tell you until the day that you get released. Most of the time when people get fired, it's not like the company comes to you and says, hey, we're going to be considering over the next 6 months whether or not we're going to fire you or keep you. They don't do that, do they? They just show up the day that you're fired and they say, hey, we're having layoffs. And if you work in this department, or this department, okay, come to a meeting with the HR at 12:15 and we're going to tell you about your future. And they let you go right there on the spot. But you don't see it coming most of the time. So you need to be consistently selling the company that you work for on why they should keep you around, why you are worth your salary, because they might be thinking about getting rid of you again, and most of the time not even telling you about it. Whereas at least us in the entrepreneurial space, we know we got to sell every day, because if you don't sell, then it is immediately reflected in your processing numbers. You see 0 sales, okay, well, all right, it's right there in front of you. Whereas at a job, it might get sprung on you in out of nowhere. You didn't see it coming. In business, we can see it coming. All right, we actually see it happening, not even coming. We see it when it's happening. So marketing and selling are lifetime jobs. If you have anything that needs to be sold, which includes yourself, then you must consistently put those things out in front of your public and consistently give the public opportunities to say yes and to buy and to know why you're giving them value, why it's worth what you're asking for. Remember that in, for example, the book business, you are in the business of selling books. You're not in the business of writing books. That's the difference. You're in the business of selling books, not the business of writing books. And some of you may be wondering, maybe somebody's wondering, well, Dre, you said write more books. That was point number 4, write more books. Now you're saying we're in the business of selling books. And that is correct. You're correct on both. And the answer that you're not even asking is you need to do both. You should be producing and getting those things sold. You need to do both. This is the business that you are in. So you can't sell books that you don't have. And if you have books and you're not selling them, then what'd you write them for? All right, so you need to do both. This is the job that you're signing up for. And again, swap out books for whatever it is that you're trying to sell right now. All right, don't have it and not sell it. If you're a professional speaker, you need to be getting on the phone and selling yourself as a speaker, or getting on stages and proving that you're good and you're worthy of another speaking gig. Whatever your thing is, you need to be out there doing it. If you're a soccer player, you need to be playing soccer. You need to be on the pitch playing soccer and proving that you're good and you deserve to be on the next team, or getting a college scholarship, or playing in the pro league, or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Don't just have it and not use it. So the money that you receive when someone purchases your book and that exchange happens, the money you receive only happens when someone purchases your book, when that exchange occurs, which means you need to be marketing, i.e. letting people know you have a book, and then selling, i.e. telling people how to make the exchange. Give me this, I'll give you this. Give me $20, I'll give you the book. Even if someone else is responsible for selling the book, they can't pay you for writing it unless there's a way for them to make money from selling it. So if you have someone else doing sales on your behalf, all right, you still have to give them a way to make the money, which means you want to be overseeing the marketing plan. You want to be overseeing how the sales are happening, and you want to oversee what marketing and sales are being done, because if things are not working, it is your responsibility. This is especially for you entrepreneurs. This is your responsibility. You need to be involved in the business of selling and marketing your book so you have control over the money exchange process, instead of abdicating that responsibility, which I see happen way too much with too many entrepreneurs who are really good practitioners. They're really good at the thing that they do, but they don't want to, or they have decided not to, or they just suck at, one of the three, the skill and the professional responsibility of actually marketing and selling their stuff. So you want to have control over this process, and you want to be hands-on and feet in. So you want to be 10 toes deep, as we say, in it. You want to be knee deep in it, not even 10 toes deep, because that's just up to your ankles. You want to be knee deep in it. And you want to have both hands involved when it comes to the marketing and selling, because if there is one job in your business that you should always be involved in, is that. It's not even the product creation. You can teach people maybe to create your products. All right, there might be AI writing books these days. I'm sure there is. But when it comes to your marketing and sales, you should always pay attention to that, because that's how the money comes in. And if the money coming in process is not working, then you don't really have a business, and you're not going to be in business for long, because we all need money to live. Right? We got bills to pay. All right, even if you're not trying to get rich, you still got to pay your bills, right? You still got to keep your phone on and your lights, electricity working, and the refrigerator cold. Then that means you got to make sure that whatever is causing the money to come in, you are all in and hands-on with it. Okay, so if you focus on one thing in any business, focus on the money. All right, that gives you the power over the finances, and when you have finances, you can pretty much get everything else done. Would you agree? Think about any entrepreneur listening to me right now. You think about your business. As long as there's money coming in and you have cash on hand that you can use in a discretionary way, pretty much every task on that job could get done somehow, some way, using the money. Would you agree? Okay, I think almost every entrepreneur listening to this would agree. You could even take the stuff that you're doing, hands-on stuff, and replace you. As long as you could teach somebody else to do it, you wouldn't even have to do it. But as long as that is only contingent on you actually having the money to do it. If you don't have the money, you can't do anything, right? So if somebody else is in control over how the money comes in, well, then you really don't have any power in your business, even if it's working, even if they're doing a good job making the money come in. The problem that you have is if that person ever goes away, then so does your money, because they are the one making the money work. So if they leave, your business is gone. So that means you don't even own your own business. Or if they come to realize that they have that much power, well, they may start asking for a bigger cut than what they're already taking, because they realize that they have all the leverage because you can't make the money come in the way that they can. So, or they might just decide, you know what, I'm so good at doing this. Why am I doing it for this person's company? Why not just do it for my own company? And they'll leave and take their knowledge with them, and maybe some of your clients with them, and they'll go start their own business. And here you are, not knowing how to make the money work in your own business, and you're stuck. This is a problem. You don't want to be in that position. And again, I see some entrepreneurs who are really good practitioners get into that position where they don't want to do the business side of stuff, but they want to do the artsy side. So make sure you're not falling into that artist trap and forgetting about your job, your responsibilities as an entrepreneur. All that said, let's recap today's class. This is part 2 of our 2-part mini series here: how to sell more books or anything else independently. Number 4 is write more books, make more of the thing. Because if number 1, the first one that you put out, doesn't really catch a certain audience, maybe it catches one audience, but it doesn't catch everybody else. The second thing might catch everybody else. And then when they realize that this is your second thing, well, guess what? They're going to go look for the first thing. So they like everything else you put out. They just found out about you now, but you've been out for 10 years. They're going to go back over your last 10 years to find out what else have you done. We all do this when we come across somebody we like who we never knew about. We go digging. Oh, what else has this person done? What else have they done in the past? I wish I had known about them before. Oh, let me go get all the stuff that they have, even though I didn't know about it until yesterday. Point number 5, expand your offerings. All right, think about different ways that you can bring value outside of just the first thing that you brought to the table, and do not limit yourself by what you see a specific other individual do. You don't have to just do what another person does. You may follow in their footsteps in some way. There may be opportunities available to you because of who you are, what you're selling, and who you're serving, that are different than what other people are doing. And maybe just because you're coming up in a different era than them, and there's just things you can do these days that someone who was out even 5 years ago couldn't do. At least at that time. They can do it now, but they couldn't do it then. So don't limit yourself just to what you see other people doing. There may be other possibilities that you are not even considering that are widely and openly available to you. So in the world we're in today, with the advances in technology, there's a lot of things you can do now that you couldn't do even 10 years ago. So again, don't limit yourself just to what you have seen. Think about what the future could possibly hold for you. And number 6, commit to a lifetime and career of marketing and selling. Marketing and selling is how the money comes into a business. If the marketing and selling are not working, you shouldn't be focused on doing anything else but the marketing and selling. All right, that should be your main focus. Eat it for breakfast, eat it for lunch, eat it for dinner, and go to sleep with it. The marketing and selling in your business. If that's not working, then it doesn't really matter how anything else is going, because everything else can't go without the marketing and sales. As long as you have money coming in, you can pretty much get everything else done. So all that said, folks, that is part 2 of this series. Make sure you text me so you're on my text community. My number's down below in the description. Once we start sending those messages out again, you'll be getting them directly to your phone. And workonyourgameuniversity.com. You want to get to a mastery level when it comes to that marketing and selling, and knowing exactly who you want to serve, how you want to serve them, what you want to serve them with, and figuring out who your target audience is, making sure that your messages are reaching that target audience, and getting straight to the most value adding thing that you can bring to the table as quickly as possible. Come to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can have me as your direct coach, and we can work with you on where you're at, where you want to go, what you're doing, who you're serving, answering your unanswered questions, and solving your unsolved mysteries, which are even more important, which are the questions that you don't even know that you need to be asking. But if you don't ask them, you're going to find yourself stuck. That is my superpower. I will help you with that, along with all of the other things that I just said, and a bunch of other things that I have not said. It's all at workonyourgameuniversity.com. Link down below in the description. Work on your game. Dre all